Please be seated. A very warm Merry Christmas to you all this evening. We have such a wonderful program for you, put together through the hearts and minds of so many people, as you can see here tonight. But I think what you're going to remember most this night is the children. We have a great children's program. But right now, I'd like to invite you to really close your eyes and be grateful for the Christmas season, because we know the Christmas season is celebrating the birth of Jesus. And it's celebrating the light that he gave to the world, a light that's been living and brightly shining for many, many years. And so join with me in this knowing that that baby Jesus continues to bring to the hearts and minds around the world a sense of hope and peace, a sense of light, a sense of life, a sense of individual power, a sense of grace, and a sense of love, all from this beautiful baby. Where else would we get all those beautiful attributes this Christmas season? And we know tonight, as we share those with each other, that we're sharing them with the world. And so much of this the world needs, don't they? So much of it. So tonight we celebrate each other, we celebrate baby Jesus, we celebrate the life and the beauty of being alive in this community at this time of year. Knowing when there is peace in our hearts, there is greater peace in the world. And for this we are so grateful. So in an attitude of gratitude for all who have brought forth this program tonight, I say thank you. For all of you here, I say thank you. For all of the children, I say thank you for the gift you give us tonight. And so it is.
The Christian nativity story is first and foremost the account of the birth of Jesus of Nazareth. The story itself may be regarded as being historical, mythical, or allegorical. No matter what you believe about the nativity, I'm sure we can agree on one thing. It's a powerful story. It teaches truth, lessons we can use to make our lives better right here and now, today. This is true for all sacred scripture. But enough of that for now. Please come with me back to
a long time ago in a city called Nazareth, where there lived a woman named Mary. Mary was promised to marry a man named Joseph, who lived there too. One day, an angel from God came to talk to Mary. And the angel left.
Now, Joseph wasn't sure what to do when he heard that Mary was going to have a baby.
I don't understand. How can it be? I know that my Mary is a sweet and honest girl, but the story she tells is too hard to believe.
So one night, while he was asleep, the angel came to talk to Joseph too. And so Joseph and Mary were wed.
A while later, the emperor in Rome, Caesar Augustus, said that everyone had to go to their own hometown for a census.
Everyone, let's go to the place where he was born so that all might be counted.
So Mary and Joseph went to the town of Bethlehem to be counted, because Joseph was of the house and line of David, and Bethlehem was known as the city of David. There were lots of people there, so many, in fact, that there was no room for them at the inn, which was unfortunate because Mary was about to deliver a baby. Mary and Joseph found a stable and settled there to welcome the baby Jesus into the world. Mary and Joseph shared the stable that night with a donkey, an ox, and a lamb. Soon the baby Jesus was born. Mary wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger.
That night, there were some shepherds out in the fields watching over their flocks of sheep.
Don't be afraid. I bring you good news. The Savior, who is Christ the Lord, has been born today in Bethlehem. You will find him wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger.
And all of a sudden, there were lots of angels singing. As the angel song receded, the shepherds went and found the baby Jesus as they had been told. And when they found him, they worshipped him.
Not far away, in a place called Jerusalem, there lived an evil queen named Herod. One day after baby Jesus had been born, Magi, or wise women, came to Jerusalem looking for the newly born King of the Jews.
Where is he who is born King of the Jews? Where is this King of the Jews to be born? Bethlehem, sir! In Bethlehem. Go and find him and let me know so I can come and worship him soon.
So the wise women went and found baby Jesus by following his star, and when they found him, they worshipped him.
Well, that's where we'll leave our story for tonight. But know this, within the heart of every person, the Christ child is born again, not as a child in swaddling clothes, but as a light that grows and grows until the universe rings with peace on earth and angels sing. As each person turns to face the light, the star of Bethlehem shines from deep within. Your radiance from that inner light far outshines the most brilliant star. You are a light of truth. Go forth and shine.
Good evening. Merry Christmas. I think we should probably just about end at that point, don't you? That was great. Thank you, Diana, and the children, and all of the hard work you guys did. Thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you to the choir and Chris for beautiful music, and Ashley and Patty for right there for beautiful music also. Thank you so much. So we're going to move into a little deeper, more sacred part of the service. We're going to start by lighting a candle. That represents the, if you will, we're going to start by lighting a candle and keeping the candle lit. You know, they say it's easy to change your thought. The hard part is to keep the thought changed. So let's keep the candle lit. And this candle represents the God candle. And what we're going to work with this evening to start with is what's known as the 7 main aspects of God. And so we're going to invite up each of the ministers and the practitioners who are here, if you'll come and join me. And each of us has chosen an aspect of God to represent and to speak about. And I invite you to let that in and let that become a part of you, each aspect, as we light each candle, to let it become a part of you. And we're going to begin with Reverend Barbara Leger, who's going to represent a candle.
And I light the candle of life. And it came to pass at this holiday season that someone would ask, maybe a wee one would ask, what is the reason? What is the meaning of Christmas? And it started a noise so sweet that all looked up from their feet and their seats, and they looked at each other as if we were sisters and brothers. And the words that we heard were so neat. It is love, many said, and joy, said many others. And Christmas is for being happy, all girls and all boys. 'Twas so precious to see how simple 'twas said to turn to a neighbor or a precious one, and with no hesitation and filled with great joy. We smile at each other, and we know we are one. And through all the ages and thousands of years, in all spots on the planets, people would ask and they would want to hear the same question, only asked with new words, 'tis now clear. What is life, and what is its meaning? And pray, dear ones, tell me the purpose. And then came many debates and millions of words written in every language around the whole world. And talk, and then talk some more, and giants of books stacked up on the floor, and piles upon piles, and miles upon miles. Oh my goodness, it was such a fright through the long noisy day and the long, long night, with so many trying to prove they were right. When it is so simple, we all know in our hearts that the answer is the same. What's the meaning of Christmas?
Life.
Life, love, joy. What's the meaning of life? Life, love, joy. Yes, life is the answer. It is our birthright, and of this simple truth we must never lose sight. And so it is written, on earth it shall be peace for you and peace for me. Life is our gift from God, and what we do with it is our gift to life. And so, dear ones, as this story is told, let's listen here once again for this story, this precious story of life.
And Jesus said, "Ye are the light of the world, for I light the candle of light." Do you believe this? If you are the light, is there any darkness in you at all? If you are the light, can any light be added to you? Are you not the light, full and complete and bright? I am the light of the world, and ever will be. And if you accept this teaching, you will shine as the noonday sun, in which there is no darkness at all. I am the light, will not permit question of why or wherefore. It accepts itself as the full radiance of the risen sun. By Joel S. Goldsmith.
I light the candle of love. And Ernest Holmes shares with us that this is the essence of God, this idea, this attribute of love, the self-givingness of spirit. But I also share the inspiration tonight from Guru Mai. Always, always remember this. In the beginning, love. In the middle, virtues. And in the end, love once again. Whatever is happening, keep love in sight. It is the supreme goal. Whether you are fighting or having a hard time, whether you are suffering, going through a difficult financial period, breaking up a relationship, struggling in your profession, however rough things get, keep love in sight. Love in the beginning, love in the end. Allow your love for God to shimmer everywhere you look, in everything you touch, and never lose sight of love. Even if you don't feel love in the entire region of your heart, in your entire head, or in your entire being, let there be a tiny spot, just one tiny spot in your being that throbs with love. Never let it vanish, never cover it up, nor stifle it. Always stay in touch with it. Let it fill your eyes. After having heard so much said, done so much, only one thing remains, and that is love. Allow this love to shine in your being. Just a tiny spot. That will be plenty. It will take you home.
I light the candle of peace. I share the words of peace as divined by Prem Rawat, an advocate of peace. Peace is within you right now. Feel it and realize there are no words adequate for that description. Peace is when this heart is filled with the gratitude for what you have been given, without wanting more. Peace is when you understand the value of this blessing called the breath that you have been given. Peace is to admire that one beautiful lifetime every single day. So having defined peace, it's a smile, a tear, a feeling. And when you know it, there's no mistaking it. Peace is.
I'm going to help God light up here. Hopefully. He's kind of stuck to the bottom. Come on. Nope. So I light the light of power. In his book, This Thing Called You, Dr. Ernest Holmes writes about the attributes of God. Here are his words about the attribute of power. Jesus announced God's presence as an inner power. He called this inner power the Father within. This means there's an intelligence and a responsive presence is existing in the universe. There is a God who knows, who cares, who understands and responds. It's its nature. The silent whispering of this inner presence comes to each of us as a divine revelation, an inner communion of the inner spirit within that vast and visible presence in which we live, move, and have our being. God power means the law of mind working in us. God power is the law of cause and effect. God power responds according to our recognition of God's presence. So tonight we recognize a God who may be not lit up in a candle, that's not Ernest Holmes' words, but but whom we may not be able to describe intellectually, mathematically, or scientifically, but whose presence we can feel, and it is a presence in which we may find peace.
I light the candle of joy. Humbly let go. Let go of trying to do. Let go of trying to control. Let go of my own way. Let go of my own fears. Let God blow his wind, his trials, oxygen for joy's flame. Leave the hand open and be. Be at peace, bend the knee, and be small. And let God, what God chooses to give, because he can only give love. And whisper a surprised thanks. This is the fuel of joy's flame. Fullness of joy is discovered only in the emptying of the will. And I can empty. I can empty because counting his graces has awakened me to how he cherishes me, holds me, passionately values me. I can empty because I am filled with his love. I can trust.
And I light the candle of beauty. Ralph Waldo Emerson reminds us, we are immersed in beauty, but our eyes have no clear vision. Though we travel the world over to find the beautiful, we must carry it within us, or we find it not. The best of beauty is a finer charm than skill in surfaces, in outlines, or rules of art can ever teach. Namely, a radiation from the work of art of human character. A wonderful expression through stone or canvas or musical sound of the deepest and simplest attributes of our nature. The world thus exists to the soul to satisfy the desire of beauty. This element I call an ultimate end. No reason can be asked or given why the soul seeks beauty. Beauty, in its largest and most profound sense, is one expression of the universe. God is the all-fair. Truth and goodness and beauty are but different faces of the same all. And Ernest Holmes in The Voice Celestial reminds us, beauty lurks beneath, within it all, since beauty is to see the whole behind the parts and merge them into one, each held by each in one all-pure embrace. A law of order and a flame of love must blend themselves to make the perfect whole, which neither doubt nor reason can disprove. This is the mystic marriage, law and love, forever wed, inseparable and one, and from their union, beauty has been born.
Sleeping in the night, he will bring us goodness
How beautiful. Thank you. You know, I was thinking as these candles weren't quite lighting, it's very Taoist, actually. The Tao Te Ching says that that which leads is invisible. And so we have the invisible divine presence. And the process through which it leads, the power, which is what Tao Te Ching means, the power in its way, or the way in its power, is also invisible. And so it's perfect. It's perfect. We do honor all faiths here, you know, and so we might as well have a little Taoism on Christmas Eve, don't you think? So this week we had, in fact, it was just yesterday, we had a gentleman who was in here who was, we were talking about doing some changes in our lighting, and he was up here on the stage, and all of a sudden his eye was drawn. He says, "Is that a menorah in your window over there?" I said, "Yes, we honor a number of different paths to God." And he was shocked and surprised, and he said, and we started talking a little bit, and he says, "You know, Christmas kind of ruined my faith." And I didn't have a chance to really talk with him and ask him exactly what he meant by that. I invited him to tonight's service, but he's going to be out of town, so he didn't come. But the Christmas story can be a challenging thing for some of us, because as the children wonderfully raised the question, is it true, is it not true? My particular take on it is, it's probably not true. And the reason I say that is, out of the 4 Gospels that we have, Mark, which is the oldest, doesn't talk about it at all. And that was kind of the original of the Gospels. Matthew only talks about the Magi. By the way, not 3, he just says Magi. So we get this little myth of there were 3 wise men. Not out of the Bible, it just says Magi. They brought gifts to Mary in the house she was living in Bethlehem. Nothing about a manger, nothing about a stable, nothing about all that stuff. John, of course, comes in with this beautiful, metaphorical, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt amongst us. Okay, that's the birth of Jesus there. And finally, Luke comes in with a story that most of us think of as the Christmas story. You know, the born in the manger and the shepherds and the angels and all that stuff. And we know that that story of the virgin birth in humble circumstances and humble surroundings was prevalent in a number of older Middle Eastern cultures. Jesus wasn't the first person attributed to having been born in that manner, in that way. Each of the gospel writers is writing to an audience that they want to talk to, that they want to impress with. And so it's not necessary to go into who and what, but just understand that each one has an agenda. So I don't know that the story is true. I personally suspect it's probably not. At least not the way that we think of it. Okay? No little drummer boys. I think that started in about 1910 or something like that. Somebody made that up. You know. But the thing is, it may not be factual, but it is true on another level. It's true in our souls, because this is a story that's been around prehistorically, since far before even Jesus was born. There is something about this story, there's something about this idea of this innocent birth, this humble beginning, that captures our imagination, that captures our soul. It speaks to us somewhere, doesn't it? Something within us resonates with this. Yes. Thank you. This is yes, this is no. For those of you who are here tonight, rules. If you feel like laughing, laugh. If you want to clap, clap. If you want to respond just a little bit, don't take over the whole talk, but if you want to respond just a little bit, it's fine. If when we all stand, you want to sit, that's fine. If you feel like standing, moving around, that's fine too. That's our rules. About the only dogma we have here is please park in the lines in the parking space out there. So the soul story calls to us, and what it calls to us about, as I said, was the innocence, our native innocence, our original innocence, which we were all born with and which we know exists deep within our soul somewhere. How many of you know that you have an innocent part of you, a totally, absolutely innocent, never been harmed, never done anything wrong, sacred place within you? And that is what this night is about. That innocence allows us to approach the infinite. Jesus said that unless we become like little children, we will never enter the kingdom of heaven. We see these beautiful children tonight, and there's an innocence about them. And it's that innocence within us that is being called to, that is what connects us with the infinite and with the power and with all the attributes of God. But it starts by, am I willing to be innocent? And by innocent, am I willing to set aside that which I think I know is real and true? Because most of us, by the time we get to adulthood, have a pretty good set of parameters and rules, and this is how the world works. And are we willing to come back and say, wait a minute, maybe it's not that way? I'm a fan of the television show NCIS. And on there, the main character, Leroy Jethro Gibbs, has a set of rules by which he lives his life by. And he imparts these rules to the people who work with him. And there's a bunch of rules. And one time in the show, fairly late in the show, when he had a fairly difficult time, several seasons into it, he finally wrote rule number 51. He had 50 up until then. He wrote 51. Rule number 51, sometimes you're just wrong. And if you know the character, that's hard for him to admit. And sometimes we have to recognize that about ourselves. Sometimes we just are wrong. Sometimes we just don't know how the whole world works. And sometimes we have to return to that original innocence and listen to that. And so the invitation that comes on Christmas Eve is to let that be born within us again. Irma Bombeck says, there's nothing sadder in the world than to awake Christmas morning and not be a child. And being a child isn't about age, is it? No. We can awaken on Christmas morning and be a child, be that innocence, be that beauty, be that consciousness that loves and experiences and enjoys and takes part in all this. That puts aside all the busyness of the shopping and the cooking and the arranging and the families and all that stuff, and just simply takes a moment to look at the beauty of the lights, to feel the love, to feel the joy, even if we're by ourselves, even if we don't have a tree up, even if we don't believe in this thing. But still, take a moment to appreciate what it represents. The birth of that Christ child, that Christ consciousness, that innocence consciousness within us. Meister Eckhart, a 14th century Christian mystic, said, "What does it matter that the Christ was born all those years ago unless it is born within me today?" What does it matter? If this is just the commemoration of an event 2,000 some odd years ago, we've missed the point. Unless we allow that to be our truth today, to find that Christ consciousness, that Christ child within us, and allow it to be born again and again and again and again, no matter how many times we later on crucify it, to allow it to be built and born again, we've missed the point of Christmas. And so I invite you to open up to that part of you that knows this, that allows you to do this. We are here to express the qualities of God. We are here to express the joy, the life, the love, the beauty, the peace, the power, the light. We are here to express that. And it's our innocence that allows us to do it. It's our open willingness to say yes that allows us to express this innocence. And when we say yes, the heavens celebrate. We get angels singing on high. How many of you have heard angels singing on high in your life at some point in time? A few hands, I know this. And as Emerson said, the quote that I put in Beauty, oftentimes it's there, but we don't have the ears to hear or the eyes to see. I'm going to tell you, there's our angels singing in heaven for you. And by heaven, I don't mean a place up there. I mean right around in the consciousness of where you live, the highest consciousness in which we exist. We get magi, bearers of wisdom and gifts, treasures, who show up for us. There's that wonderful quote that once we commit, providence moves for us and brings about all sorts of things we could never, expect in unexpected times, in normal times. We get shepherds, our fellow innocents, who come to receive our gifts, who come to receive what we have to give. Are you willing to let the Christ be born within you? Are you willing to find your innocence? And celebrate that today. Because when you do, the earth receives its King. and it's Queen. And guess who that is? And if you're not sure, nudge your neighbor and say, it's you. And if you don't have a neighbor sitting beside you, just look at the person sitting in your chair and say, it's you. That is our true nature. That is our God nature being expressed. And it's only a possibility until it's expressed. It's only a divine idea until we say yes, out of that innocence, yes to the infinite to express through us. And so this Christmas Eve, this Christmas season, I invite you to listen to what it is that the angel is saying to you. Wasn't that a great angel? Where are you? You're back there, right? Okay. No, I think he's right back there. He's back here. What I wish was we all had an angel that spoke that loudly to us. Don't you wish your angel talked? Because sometimes it's like that still small voice. And it's like, no, hey, yo! Got a message from God for you.
I was sore afraid.
You're sore afraid, yes. The Word is made flesh through us. Until it's made flesh, until it's put into application, until we start to move this into form and experience, until we start to live this in our life, it's just a nice idea. Peace is a nice idea until we start to apply it. Love is a nice idea until we start to live it. And the challenging thing is, of course, that sometimes it's difficult to live those principles, isn't it? Sometimes it's difficult to bring these aspects into reality. And yet that is what we are called to do on a daily basis, is to be love when there is no love, to be light when there's only darkness seeming around us, to be peace when it seems like there's only war around us, to be beauty when nobody seems to appreciate it. We are called to be this. And we get to answer the question and say, yes, I'm willing to be that, if we're willing to. And so this Christmas, I invite you to be willing to say yes to that innocence. Innocence. Can we say that 5 times real fast? So how are we to be that? William Blake, great poet, in his Auguries of Innocence, wrote, "To see a world in a grain of sand, and heaven in a wildflower. To hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour." When we can see the universe that way, when we can see the life that we're living that way, not waiting for some great time in some great place somewhere off in the by and by, up in the sky, when you die, but to see it here and now, to see the grain of sand that you're holding now, to see the flower that you're holding now as the presence of the divine. That is the innocence. That is when we are in touch with our divine self. And so I invite you this Christmas to take that time, to allow that innocence to be born with you, to allow your Christ consciousness to be born in you, to allow it to take birth, to allow it to grow. Are you willing to say yes to that? Yes. Me too. So God is seeking to be born within your heart. You are that child. You are the Christ child being born today. You're it. Okay? The 17th century Christian mystic, Angelus I knew I was going to mess this up. Silesius said, "Could your heart become a manger for his birth, God would again become a child upon this earth." Could your heart become a manger for his birth, God would again become a child upon this earth. Will you open your heart? Will you be that manger for the birth of the innocence and the Christ consciousness within you? Thank you very much. I wish you a blessed Christmas. I wish not just the day and not just the weekend, but that this energy takes and lives with you and grows within you throughout the rest of this coming year and the next year and the next year and the next. So that you become the light, the love, the joy, the peace, the beauty, the power of the divine. Blessings. Let's pray. So we turn within to that one infinite presence Whether we call it God, whether we call it Adonai, whether we call it Allah, whether we call it the Tao, whether we call it the Buddha mind, Vishnu, Spirit, Great Spirit, whatever name we give it, it's irrelevant. It's beyond all the names. It includes, but it's beyond all the names. But that one innocence, that one infinite presence is all that there is. There is nothing but that. And we ourselves, because there is nothing else, cannot exist outside of that. And so we ourselves are one of this presence. We are the sons and the daughters of the Most High. And so we simply allow this evening, in our heart of hearts, that manger, to receive the God nature that is already ours, the gift that is already given. We witness the angels and hear them. We receive the wisdom of the Magi within us. We receive the adulation of the shepherds around us, because we are actually worth that. We deserve that the entire universe says, "You are my beloved in whom I am well pleased." We are that right here and now. And so it is my word this evening, my prayer this evening, that each of us realizes that, recognizes that ever so much more deeply than ever before. We simply say yes in our heart of hearts. We are the Christ being born tonight. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you, choir. And we'll invite the ushers to come forward for our offering. You are tired. That's pretty. All this beauty, handsomeness. We've got a good-looking usher team tonight, don't we? Yeah. Yeah. So let us take our gifts, our tithes, our offerings in our hand. We have an affirmation that we say that we'll bless our gifts with. And please follow me in saying this affirmation. The love of God. The love of God. Blesses and multiplies. Blesses and multiplies. All that I am. All that I am. All that I have. All that I have. All that I give. All that I give. And all that I receive. And all that I receive. Abundantly. Abundantly. And so it is. So it is.
This is a song we wrote before we realized the Little Drummer Boy was made up. So. It's kind of a prequel and a sequel. It's called Ancient Drum.
And we're really excited to have two of our boys with us tonight.
Ago in a distant land, it was born to a shepherd man, sparkling eyes like the desert night, face it shone with a holy light. From the beginning, the very first day, the father knew his son had a song to play. So he raised him with kindness, wisdom, and love, and taught him that God lived within, not above. And the shepherd boy played ba-rum-ba-bum-bum, and his baby smiled. He could see the joy that his music brought to the little child. Up and played on the family drum till the baby fell asleep. Then he tucked the ancient drum away, got down on his knees to pray, held his son to peaceful dreams that night. They passed and the baby grew. His daddy taught everything he knew. He grew in stature, in strength and love. He read the Torah and the stars above. And then one night when the moon was new, stars were many and the clouds were few, there came a great light, an unmistakable sign. He followed his heart to the baby line. And the shepherd boy played ba-rum-ba-bum-bum, and his daddy smiled. He could see the joy that his little boy brought the holy child. And he watched his son play and play on his drum till the baby fell asleep. He looked into his father's eyes. They walked home under starry skies. They both knew that the world had changed that night. the voices of the angels and the heavenly hosts combine, singing glory to God in the highest, peace on earth, goodwill to humankind. The shepherd boy grew into a man. He sought his fortune in distant land. Then he found upon coming home a loving wife he could call his own. Eternally blessed with a son, he taught him to shepherd and play the old drum. Raised him with wisdom and love from the start, taught him how to find the Christ in every heart. And together they played pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, and the whole world smiled. They could feel the love that was brought to earth by the Holy Child. And the trumpet plays on in our hearts and our souls as the winter stars appear, reminded of what we once knew. Christ is born in us anew as we open to another holy night. And the shepherd boy played pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, and his daddy smiled.
I'll turn myself back on. And so, Chris, even though the story is made up, they're all made up. So it's okay. It's a heart story. It's a soul story. All right. So I invite you to join me, because there's only one of us. We give and we receive alike. And so this outpouring of love that looks like in the form of money, but it's just simply love and joy, blesses each person here, blesses out beyond these walls into the community in ways that we don't even know how big we are in our influence. But trust me, we are, because we hear from people outside of this community. And so I'm grateful and receive this and call it good and call it blessed. And each of us who gives and each of us who receives also blessed. And great thanks, we together say, and so it is. Thank you. So when we were making up the program and the staff was talking about the making up the program, this is the point where it said that Dalton Fitzgerald will sing Ave Maria, and Lori, is Lori here? Lori's not here. Lori says, and this is the point where I start bawling. So if you are a crier, there's Kleenex underneath the seats in front of you just to have them ready. No pressure, Pelton. No pressure at all. Thank you, Dalton. It's beautiful. Thank you, Judy, for the accompaniment. I'd like to invite up my fellow ministers and practitioners. We're going to close this evening with a candle lighting service, and I understand this is different than what those of you who've been here before normally have done in the past. But we got to change some things up once in a while. You know, this is my first Christmas here in this congregation. And I want to say that one of the greatest gifts I've received this year has been the support and the love of this wonderful group of people here, and I want to thank each of you for that, for receiving me as the minister here and supporting me in that process of becoming more, and supporting this community and becoming more. So thank you very much. I bless you. So we're going to start with a candle. Each of you has received this. Anybody who has not received a candle, the ushers have extra. If you'll raise your hand and let them know. Great. And so we're going to send our ministers and practitioners down the aisle with their candle. There's an etiquette for candle lighting that I want to invite you to follow. And it's a good etiquette for life, actually. You may have met somebody who they're on fire with something, they got all lit up about something, and they want to just jam it in your face. You ever meet anybody like that? I don't know if you have been like that, but you may have met people like that. But what we're going to invite you to do is the person who has the light is going to just simply hold the light forward. And the person, Mary, if you'll demonstrate this with me, who receives the light, moves the candle up and receives. And so the ministers and the practitioners are going to be walking down the aisle and sharing their light with you, and you're going to be sharing it with your neighbor next to you and the neighbor next to you in that respect. And as you do that, I invite you to just simply be still and let yourself come to a silence. We're going to tell a little story. I'm going to tell a little story. And then the choir is going to sing us out with the beautiful Silent Night in which we all get to join in. And after about 3 verses of that, we'll start stepping out through the center aisle here. We'll invite you to follow us out, process out behind us, starting from the front of the church forward and moving backwards. And I invite you to stay in silence, at least until you hit the foyer, in the process of leaving. Just let the beauty of this evening, let all that has happened this evening stay with you and stay in your heart and touch you. So I'll invite the practitioners and ministers to take their posts. You're on the right, Mary. You're on this aisle over here. It's hard to go right, isn't it? And so go ahead and start sharing that. What I want to talk about in the story is something that tonight's a very special night in a way. About 25 or 30 years ago, I became aware of a story that was told in song that turns out to be a true story. And it happened exactly 100 years ago this evening, during World War I. It's been known as the Christmas truce of World War I. And those lights should be out, please. The World War I was supposed to be just a quick war. It was supposed to be just a little picnic, especially according to the British, to go kick the Germans back out of France. And as many of you know, if you know your history, the war had descended into trench warfare, to where the biggest enemy wasn't always the enemy. It was the mud itself from all the rain that was pouring down. In these miserable conditions, these men were existing, both the Germans and the Allied forces, mostly the British, 60 to 100 yards apart from each other, and between them this area called the no man's land. And they were fighting each other until it came to be Christmas Eve. And some of the Germans had received Christmas trees from their home families, from their families at home, and they had actually put them up on top of the trenches. The British at first were suspicious. It's like, what the heck is that? But then finally realized it was Christmas trees. And that quiet night, 100 years ago, just like tonight, a Christmas Eve night, in the middle of that silence, they began to hear a clear German voice, beautiful tenor singing out, Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht. And on the other side of the trenches, one of the British soldiers decided to take it up in English. And soon a figure came out of the German trenches with a truce flag, walked out towards the field, which was an extremely brave thing to do because normally he would have gotten shot. And he called out in English. He said, "Would you like some candy?" And pretty soon a couple of the British soldiers came out and started to share their candy and cigarettes. And pretty soon all the soldiers, all up and down the line, were out here in this no man's land. Germans, Brits, Scots, showing pictures of each other's family, sharing cigarettes, talking about their homes the best they could. Rumor has it that a soccer game broke out. And for that whole evening and into the next day, there was this beautiful truce between the troops. Earlier tonight, I talked about whether this story, this Christmas story, is true or not in terms of factuality. And I don't know the answer to that. But what I know is it has a power. It has the power to bring peace in the midst of war, to bring love in the midst of hate. It has a power, and each of us gets to live that power. And so as we sing this beautiful song tonight, as we allow the peace to move within us, I invite you to stand and let your light represent the light within you.